You found, you found Ask Alice, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the societal currents shaping our lives. I'm your host, Alice, and together we'll explore the often unseen forces at play. We'll examine cutting-edge research, dissect the data, and most importantly, if you're seeking to understand what's shaping our society, this is the place.
Okay, let's unpack this. When you hear ICE raiding Facebook, I bet the image that jumps to mind is, agents storming an office, seizing servers.
Yeah, it's a very sort of dramatic picture, isn't it?
Totally. But this report we're looking at, it makes it really clear that's just not how it works.
Absolutely. The source right off the bat says, forget the physical raid idea. It's not about kicking down doors at Meta. It's actually much more complex and invisible, really. It's all digital.
And that hidden digital process, that's what we're diving into today. You've brought this really fascinating report, and, well, our job here is to kind of filter through it and pull out the key takeaways for you. How does ICE actually get user data from Facebook, from Instagram?
Exactly. So maybe we start with that contrast, the myth versus the reality the report describes.
Good idea. The report draws this stark line, doesn't it, between, say, those very visible ICE raids you might see on the news, like at a workplace. Big operations.
Right, public displays of enforcement.
Yeah. And then there's the way they interact with Meta. The report says it couldn't be more different. It's all remote. It's bureaucratic almost, done through Meta's own online systems for legal requests.
It's like less of a battering ram and more like navigating a specific established pathway, a digital pathway based on law.
And that pathway is basically the legal framework. The report digs into the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, ECPA, from way back in 1986. So what does that legal ladder actually look like? How do they climb it to get data?
Well, ECPA works in tiers. Depends on how sensitive the data is. So the lowest rung is a subpoena, easiest legal standard to meet. That gets you basic subscriber info.
Like name, email?
Yeah, name, maybe length of service, billing info, sometimes a recent IP address, pretty basic stuff.
Okay, and the next step up?
That'd be a court order. Needs a slightly higher, showing specific and articulable facts, showing the info is relevant to an investigation. And this is where they can compel more detailed metadata, things like logs of IP addresses used over time.
And the report really stresses why that metadata, even without message content, is so valuable, right?
Exactly. Those IP logs alone, the source argues, can be powerful tools for tracking someone's physical location, or at least their patterns of movement online. Really paints a picture.
And then the top rung, for actual content messages, photos, posts.
That needs a full search warrant based on probable cause, the highest standard. But, the report keeps coming back to how ECPA, written in '86, feels, well, kind of clunky for today's world. The sheer amount of data is just different.
Which brings us to this idea, the source raises purpose creep. Explain that a bit.
So the concern is this. Data that's obtained using one of those lower rungs, maybe a court order for IP logs, in a serious criminal case.
Like the child predator examples they often use in reports.
Right. Could that data, obtained for that purpose, later be used in a completely different context? Mm-hmm. Like, say, civil immigration enforcement, where the legal safeguards are often less robust.
Okay. So data gathered for one reason might sort of bleed over into another use.
That's the worry the report highlights, yeah.
Yeah, this is where, for me, it got really interesting. The report argues that these formal legal requests to Meta, while important, might not even be the biggest part of the story.
That's a key argument. The source points towards what it calls a shadow ecosystem. Basically, the idea that government agencies, including ICE and DHS, are increasingly just buying data.
Buying it? From who?
From commercial data brokers. These are companies that gather huge amounts of information from all sorts of sources, apps, web tracking, public records, other purchases, and it's largely unregulated.
And this is the data broker loophole they talk about. So agencies can potentially bypass the whole warrant process for sensitive stuff like location data.
Just by buying access to it on the open market, or, well, the semi-open market. The report suggests this sidesteps some of the ECPA requirements.
Wow. And it's not just brokers.
No, the source also mentions surveillance contractors, companies that scrape publicly available data from social media, and apparently even offer tools to monitor things like negative sentiment online, which is quite a thing.
What about Meta itself? How does the report position them in all this?
Well, Meta's official stance is that they comply with valid legal processes. They have their formal system for handling requests, and they publish transparency reports.
But there's a catch with those reports.
Yeah, the source notes that those reports lump all U.S. government requests together, so you can't see specifically how many requests came from ICE or how often Meta complied with just ICE requests. It's aggregated data.
And the report also touches on Meta's own policy shifts, suggesting things like ending certain fact-checking partnerships or loosening content rules could be seen as
political de-risking is the phrase used, essentially aligning policies in ways that might appease whoever is in power, framed by the company, of course, as promoting more speech. It's a complex interpretation.
So let's bring this back to the human side. For you listening, especially if you're in an immigrant community or have family abroad, what's the impact?
Well, there's a definite chilling effect mentioned. Just the perception of this kind of surveillance, whether it's direct requests or data purchasing, can make people hesitant to speak freely online or connect with certain groups.
Because, as the report gives examples, things taken out of context, photos, slang, even hand signs or clothes and pictures could be misinterpreted, right? Used as evidence in immigration cases.
Exactly. The source mentions potential misinterpretations around alleged gang affiliation, citing the Tren de Aragua example and even that Harvard student incident. Cultural nuances can get lost, potentially with serious consequences.
And the platform's design itself can amplify fear during rumors of enforcement actions, causing real panic, like those examples in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yeah, misinformation spreads fast.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway seems to be the raid isn't physical, it's digital, and follows legal steps, however dated. But maybe the bigger privacy concern isn't just the data ICE gets directly from Meta.
Right. It might actually be this wider, less regulated world of data brokers where vast amounts of information about you are being bought and sold, potentially bypassing those traditional legal checks.
So the final thought for you to chew on. It's not only about what you consciously post on Facebook or Instagram. It's about all the other data points generated about you constantly, often without your direct knowledge, that exist out there in this commercial data sphere. Where does your digital footprint